So, as part of Polis is this recording? I think it is. Recording pending. Right. Hello. As part of Polis's coverage for the Student Association elections, we're conducting interviews with I think all of the sabbatical candidates. And here we have Trina O'Donovan, who is standing to be the Director of Wellbeing. So, Trina, if you'd like to introduce yourself, talk about why you're running, and just a bit about yourself.
So yeah, I'm Trina. I wanted to run because this year I've always been very interested in well-being, and it's something that I've always had a passion for. Beyond university, looking just for everything in life, it's obviously something that affects us always. But this year I got the chance to be the well-being officer for the university sailing club, and I know that seems fairly sort of small scale in terms of compared to some other experience that other candidates have. But I think what it's really shown me is that there's a whole host of services and facilities and all these amazing programs and initiatives happening. And yet, until that point that I was the wellbeing officer and directly coordinating between them, I had very little awareness of them, and the people that I had spoken to as part of the sailing club and who come to me both within the sailing club and out with because they knew that I had the sector training, they weren't aware of it either. So I basically wanted to run to show that this was, there was some disconnect there, and I wanted to identify what it was, and I wanted to even, regardless of whether I win or lose, I wanted to raise the question that, okay, there's all these amazing things going on and all these amazing initiatives that everyone wants to keep going, but there's a disconnect to a very large percentage of the student population here. And I think you can see that in the engagement numbers with the elections and things like that, there's a vast majority who are not engaging in this way. And I basically just wanted to raise the conversation more than anything.
Absolutely. I think it brings some very well to 2 points that I saw in your manifesto. So one was on societies in general. Your manifesto focused very heavily on trying to improve societies and improving well-being in societies specifically. So I think what would be interesting, first of all, is what would you envisage the role of the proposed well-being officer for all societies doing?
I think that's absolutely valid. I think I've got a good base to start on in the fact that the AU president this year and last year has been able to instill a wellbeing officer into the sports clubs already, and I think I would work off a very similar structure with that. And essentially, it could be added on to another position. Like I've done it, I know how much work it is. It can be added on to another position, or it can be a standalone thing by itself. They would receive all the relevant training from these committees, like Got Consent, Got Limits. Gosh, they'll fly out your head when you're made to think of them.
Yep.
All of these amazing things that are just the university and the unions just littered with. They would receive the invitations to do all these different things, and they basically would then push the awareness of that into their society. So whether you're in, whether you do singing and theatre, or chess, or in the political societies, or any of these things, it would just be a point of contact that people could go to and feel that it's not so formal, that they could go and be like, I'm kind of stressed, I don't really know what to do. So I think it would just be this more informal, this more approachable person who would have this whole information, who then could go, if they didn't know, could go and ask someone else. It would just add another link to the chain that I think would actually get to the boots on the ground better than these sort of high positions, which sort of feel a little bit unapproachable at times.
Fantastic. Thank you very so much for the answer. I think that was definitely a very welcome point of clarity as to what the wellbeing officer rather would actually do. And I think the other points I wanted to bring up, you mentioned kind of participation in elections, and your manifesto does include a section about having workshops to ensure that people know how the election process works, how to write a manifesto, etc. Is there anything else that you're envisioning doing to improve the democratic process, and in particular to increase turnout in student elections?
For sure. Well, I think again, this idea of a wellbeing officer in societies could come under them as well. They could also publicize this to their societies, be like, look, guys, this is happening, remember? So I think that would also tie into that very well. I think making workshops and making sure that they're advertised, of course, but I think also providing, and this is something that I found that I would have loved to have, is providing a set of documents or a packet of information with guidance on writing a manifesto, creating a campaign, just all these sort of things that if you've missed the workshops or you've come to it last minute or for whatever reason, then you don't feel like you're missing out. You don't feel like everyone's got this prior knowledge, this prior experience, and you're looking around trying to write a document that you've never written before and then struggling with, oh God, what length does it need to be? What point do I cover? How formal or informal do I need to be? Like that sort of stuff. So I think providing something that can be there all year round rather than just a workshop, which happens and then is gone, is important as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a very well thought out plan to ensure that the democracy is really flowing in St Andrews.
For sure.
And I think kind of just again moving aside kind of more generally. So Emma, I believe, is the current holder of the role. Is there anything that you think she's done particularly well in the role, and is there anything in particular you'd seek to improve upon from her records?
Sorry, I've just had a mind.
No worries, Tom.
a mind. I think I think there's a whole host of things that she's done well, and you can see that in the support that it's been an incredibly difficult year across the board, but especially when it comes to things well-being related that fall under that bracket of so many different things. So even just to manage that, I think is incredibly impressive, and I think that's great. I suppose in improvement sort of thing, I would, for me going forward, I just really, really want to focus on this accessibility for everyone, and that goes beyond just incorporating like minority groups and groups who feel unrepresented. Of course, that's like massively important, but I think that just goes back to this incorporating everybody into the well-being and everything that comes under that. And I think doing that with something like the Wellbeing Officer, with better feedback, more streamlined and transparent feedback, I think all of those things they're quite broad, overarching things, but I think they all trickle down into actually practical workarounds that can actually just improve the way that our system works and the awareness that our population have for it and our community have for it, I would say.
Yep, fantastic. Thank you very much. That's again an excellent overview of what you plan to do. And I think kind of more broadly, is there anything else that we haven't talked about so far that you'd be passionate about doing in the role of Director of Wellbeing?
I would say I think when I look at the role of Wellbeing, it's such an umbrella role. There's so much that falls under it. I think what I'm would be really excited for and really passionate about is helping so many of the other student leaders, so many who have incredible ideas, actually making them happen. Obviously, a lot of the other elected roles, a lot of the other members are volunteer roles. They've got their studies going on the side. So I would love to really, as a full-time officer, I'd love to take those ideas that they are having and really try make them work. If they, maybe don't have time to write up an Instagram post that day to advertise it or create the event or get in touch with whoever they need to, I would love to get involved in that and just make it happen, because they have so many great ideas. It's obvious from the amazing campaigns and initiatives that I've found in researching for this. So I just want to get it out there and get people excited for it.
That's fantastic. Thank you ever so much again. And I think just to finish off on a kind of slightly more light-hearted note, in pre-COVID times, what would be your ideal night out?
Ideal night out.
Or night in, but we won't
I've got
discriminate.
to shout out the sailing club. They're my the sailing club are absolutely my go-to. They do a really good social. It's very fun, very very good. I don't think I've ever heard a bad review of it from anyone that I've dragged along. So, I got to know where I came from and back that. So anything, Wednesday night with the sailing club, God, I miss it so much. I'll be back next year, even if I don't get this back, just for that.
Fantastic. I'm very glad to hear that. I appreciate the loyalty and consistency to sailing. Fantastic.
Gotta know my roots.
Yeah, absolutely. That's entirely correct. That is definitely the right approach. Thank you very much for that. And Trina, thank you ever so much for your time today. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'll have to head off now to other activities for the day, but it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking your time.
Thank you ever so much.
Bye now.